Welcome everyone to the FIA Manufacturer Cup Round 3. We're at Willow Springs in the Group 4 cars. I'm driving the Lexus RCF. I qualified 13th, and I'm pretty happy with the final results, which I won't spoil. It was a really good race, a lot of fun actually, and some good clean racing in this particular group of people. So, not that there weren't some awkward penalties, but the penalty system is, I believe, still a work in progress. It's been very difficult. I know that Super GT, who's also streams on YouTube, has a video of this exact same round, and he bumps the car in front of him very lightly with no consequence, but gets a full second penalty for bumping him, which then begs the question, what if you get brake checked, or what if someone braking point is just earlier than yours and there's just no way around them because you're too close? But I mean, you should give yourself just enough room to react anyway, I guess. I don't know, but this is the very first lap, so there's not much to talk about at this stage. I'm just as far as strategy, we had to use two different tire compounds, a hard tire and a medium tire, and the medium tire had better grip, and the hard tire had worse grip, but the hard tire could last more laps. So most people did a two-stop race and used two mediums and then the hard tire for 4 laps, and what I decided to do was use the hard tire for about I think it was about 11 or 12 laps, and it actually worked out for me in the end of this race, but that you will see. We had somebody serve a penalty there going into a fade situation where your car becomes uncollidable with any object on the track. And then we do a purple sector for the first sector on hard tires, and that's only because I'm following these guys in front of me so closely. As we come around the most technical part of the circuit, it's a very difficult part to get right every single time. And the Lexus is a good all-rounder. I don't think it's particularly strong in any one area. I don't think it is very fast on the straights, and I don't think it handles as good as any other handling cars, but you know, it's a safe choice, I think, is the way to put it. And just only the penalty on that lap, so a pretty uneventful first 2 laps, and that's because the racing is close. There's a couple of bumps up here, but no penalties issued. The guys fighting for 9th position are definitely allowing me to keep up with them as well, and there's a penalty issued for a bump, and we're just gonna keep back, and I'm gonna hang tight and let them duke it out while I kind of just coast behind, because again, I'm on the hard tire and I don't know if they're not on the hard tire, and I like to swing around wide there. It gives me a better exit onto this corner, which, like I said, that's the most technical part of the circuit. It's the most difficult one to get right every single time. Now that person serves their penalty, and because they served us a penalty, now they drop back in the order, and we're up to 11th. Coming around to finish lap number 3. It's a bit of space to fill because it's not a very eventful race until closer to the end when the pit stops start happening. But what we're going to do is we're going to try and straighten out the corners as much as possible and carry as much speed as possible, because we're on a different tire compound from most people. Although, you know, there was a fair mix on Super GT's replay of people on the hard compound and on the medium compound, and that's alright. you know, maybe there's a couple of people in front of me with hard compounds, but we just have to keep up with these people that we're racing against. That's our objective. We have people flashing behind. That's a flash to pass usually means they think they're faster than you and they should let you by, but it's not something you have to follow. They have to, it's their job to get past you. You don't have to pay attention to that. And that's part of the psychological game of racing, is, you know, distract them into making a mistake. You just ignore it and you just follow your line and you'll be fine. That turn is the hardest one for me. I mean, I don't know, I said the technical part is the hardest to get right every time. The last corner is the hardest for me to carry enough speed through there. I always lose out to a lot of people on that last corner. I'm much slower on that corner than most of the other corners. Most of the other corners I can keep up with people. It's hard for me to get that one correct. It's hard for everyone to get the technical part correct, if that makes sense. You can see from the mini-map in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, people out in front have a huge gap to everyone else because they're just either more experienced or their car suits the track or whatever. I'm pretty sure it's they know how fast they can take every single corner and they're quite proficient at it. I'm not the fastest racer in Gran Turismo Sport, and I know that. But what I am trying to do is get better at the game, so I don't know what my numbers are off of that. So there goes somebody crashing into the wall and giving themselves a penalty, and I think they just quit. I think they just dropped, or did they go into the pits? No, I think they just dropped. They said, nope, not having it, and they quit. And that happens, you know. And I think that was the big challenge of Gran Turismo Sport, is keeping people in the racing. Because it's easier to quit than it is to keep pushing yourself, especially when you get a bad penalty or an unfair penalty. It's so much easier to say, nope, not having it, and just drop out of the race, but that affects everyone in the race. I mean, nobody wants to race in a race that is only 3 cars. A good example of that is a Formula 1 race that took place in America, and I think it was in the 90s, and the tire manufacturer was trying to get a compound changed, and the FIA wouldn't allow it, and only 3 actual teams raced, and there was only like 6 cars on the track, and the entire crowd was very upset with that, and I can understand why. They didn't come there to see a ridiculous, boring thing, and racing is not just, you know, how fast can I take this track with this car. Racing is how fast can I take this track with this car with other cars on the track getting in my way, or other cars passing me. You know, mobile obstacles. The other things about this race, let's see, it's very hard on the tires, so you can see I'm starting to slow down a lot more through these corners. That's because my tires are basically getting rubbed away to the bare bones, and as the tire gets rubbed away, it has less grip, so it's harder to take corners at the speeds you were taking them. So you have to compensate for that. You have to brake a little bit sooner, you have to brake a little bit harder, you have to slow down a tiny bit more each and every lap to get the optimal performance from your tires. And here comes that tricky corner. I hate this corner. This is the worst corner for me, period. I hate it. I'm so slow through there. I'm just so slow. So the first round of pits, lap 7 for people who had the soft tire, And I'm up to 10th position as someone comes out of the pits and gets overtaken and drops themselves to 9th. I'm still on the hard tires, and my tires are really getting kind of iffy at this stage. I think they're fine. I mean, I think I get them to work quite a ways into the race. Only having to pit stop once, but I definitely could tell that they weren't doing the whole job the way they were when they were clean. Well, not clean, but new. Fresh. Clean and a dirty tire is a different thing. That's where you pick up dirt from the end of the track, or get something on the tire surface that prevents it from having 100% grip, which is like the sand in this place, because that's what this place is. Oh, 9th place drifts wide, so he decides to cut back into the pits instead of trying to get back out onto the track, so that gives us up into 9th position. We're a few seconds back from 8th, and the splits, you can see little dashes above and below my name on the left. Those are the splits. That's how much time is in between me and the cars in front and behind me. They don't work on the replays, and I don't know why. I feel they should, but this is why, you know, when I get a streaming device like an Elgato or something like that, then I can record the races while I'm doing them, and I don't have to use a replay video. I can use the recorded replay off of my PC, and then you guys can see that stuff, like the split times, and we can have a bit more accurate racing, but I don't have one to use right now, so I have to use what I got, and this is what I got. The long right-hand sweeping corners of this place just chews up that front left tire. Oh, another car off the track. Maybe his tires gave out, and that gives us 8th position, which is kind of incredible at this stage. And it was because I made very few mistakes. I mean, you could see I made mistakes. I'm not perfect. I didn't hit that apex there. I didn't unwind all the way out to the edge of the track, so it was a little too slow. But I made fewer mistakes than the people behind me. I think that's the only reason I'm up to 8th place, because I made fewer mistakes than everyone else. No penalties for me so far. I don't remember if I got a penalty or not. I couldn't tell you. This highly technical part of the track, very difficult to get right, because it's hard to see. Oh, there, I'm off track there. See, I'm not perfect. That is intentional. You do want to let two tires kind of go a little bit off of the circuit there to widen that corner, make it as straight as possible. Oh, getting out of control, but I hold it. Very good. Now number one pits and drops down the order, and he probably switches to the hard tire. He made his soft tires last until 10 laps, which is very tricky to do. Oh, I'm off, so I'm just going to cut into the pit. My tires were done, and it just didn't want to grip anymore. So at lap number 10, we pit, and so we got 7 laps with the one I'm currently on the soft tires. I dropped down to 10th, but I'm on the soft compound. And I'm pretty sure the guys in front of me are on the hards at this stage. And you can tell by how rapidly I'm catching up to the Chevrolet Corvette. I kind of play it safe here. I don't want to get a penalty. I want to keep clean. I didn't end up with a clean race because when I went off the track to pit, that didn't give me a positive net gain. So to get a clean race, you have to have a clean race, including no off-track incidents like the one you saw before I entered the pit. But here I am coming up on Mr. F1. MSR 67 F1, whatever that name means. And I'm going to cut across to the inside. It's going to be a drag race down to the corner. And I'm still behind him, so technically this is still his corner, so I'm going to brake early. I'm going to cut around underneath behind him, and I'm going to go through the corner and do what's called an undercut. And now I have better grip through here, so I'm going to allow him to... I'm going to complete the overtake anyway. I was thinking, I guess, when I did that, is I'll allow him to have the inside, but I have the better grip, so I can hold the line better on the outside and still keep up with him, and then I'd have him at this corner, but he was slower than me through there, so it didn't matter. We're up into 8th because another person makes a mistake. It allows me to get by. Nice, clean. And we're going to catch up to 7th here because we have the advantage of soft tires. And there is a pretty big difference between the medium compound and the hard compound. I called them soft, but they're medium. They're the softer compound, I guess, is the proper way to call it. 6th place goes into the pits after an incident, so he's going to drop. And we're up into 7th. If we got 7th position, which would be a great result from where we started. Now I'm going to start babying my tires a little bit to try and get them to go the whole length of the race, because I saw that a lot of people pitted at 8 laps and we were going from 11 to 18, which is only 7 laps, but I did see a lot of people kind of going off circuit, and I assume that's because their tires just didn't hold. Their tires just let go, and you can see the big difference between soft tires and hard tires here. I caught up to that guy, no problem. So Hayden Fan 69 is going to get overtaken on the upcoming last corner and start finish straight. I'm going to slow down early because I don't want to bump him and I don't want to get pushed off the circuit either. I guess I decided to wait one more lap. We're coming up to lap 14, 4 more laps to go. The Lexus is, like I said, a good all-rounder, so I'm having no trouble keeping my lines with these current tires, and I'm not pushing too hard. I'm not trying to overdrive the car, which you can do and eke out a few more tenths, but it's at the cost of your tires and the cost of well, in the simulation it doesn't really matter, but it would cost you some wear and tear on the car, and then in real racing you have to break that down, repair certain parts, replace other parts. In a sprint it wouldn't matter so much. Sprints can go, you know, maybe 15-20 minutes, sometimes half hour, and they're like maybe 10 to 12 laps. This is 18 laps, so it's about 40 minutes, so it's a little bit longer than a sprint, but I would still call it a sprint. Which is the only format they run on Gran Turismo, because again, it's about not having people quit. And I don't know many people that would race this track for more than, I'd say, about an hour before they said, okay, this is starting to get annoying and boring and I'd like to quit. But I mean, this is supposed to be a simulation, so I mean, hashtag GT Sport, hashtag simulate, hashtag please make it more simulated. um, give us real racing. I mean, that's what you advertised was real racing, or real sport, I'm sorry. You advertised real, genuine sport, and it's kind of not. It's somewhere in between real sport. And I mean, there's never any black flags for any behavior whatsoever. The penalty system is, at best, workable. At worst, it's horrifying. And the car damage isn't on, so there's no consequences for making a major mistake where the car would still be able to run. So not a out of the race mistake, but a mistake should, if you hit the car in front of you, your front arrow gets damaged a little, and that should affect your car, because that's what happens in real life. But it doesn't happen on this game, so it's not exactly a full simulation, and it's not an arcade, because the feel of it is quite good, and I wish they'd do more with that. Riding in 6th place, which is absolutely phenomenal for starting where we started and how close the racing was. And I remember looking at the split at this point, and I believe that 5th place was roughly 14 seconds ahead of this, so there was no way I was going to get any more positions up. So I just kind of slowed down a tiny bit to save the tires at this stage. I believe on lap 17 I started to really kind of go a lot more gently into the curves. In fact, you're going to see the guy in 7th position catch up with me because I'm trying to be a little bit more careful and not kill my tires before the last lap, because I don't want to make a mistake and lose 6th position and finish 12th, because, you know, that's all it takes is one mistake, and all of these cars behind you catch up, and then they overtake you because you've got dirty tires from the dirt, and they're already worn, so you're not going to be able to carry as much speed as them. So I'm babying the tires. I'm in 4th, and now I'm in 5th, and usually that's a 5-gear corner turn on medium, but I dropped to 4th, and I dropped to 3rd here. Or 2nd, sorry. I dropped to 2nd there now instead of 3rd. So I'm definitely slowing down a bit, trying to get my tires to last. Somebody made a mistake which caused a yellow flag, but the guy in 7th, Blue Bayou, is right on my tail. He's less than a second on at this stage. I believe it was 8/10 right here. 16th place is going to turn into a ghost, because that's how they handle back markers. They're no longer an obstacle. Oh, and I kind of followed him off the circuit there, which was bad. And so did Blue Bio. He followed me too. Just follow the guy in front of you. It's called tunnel vision. It's a very common occurrence in motorsport, is where you're following the guy in front first, so you know, you kind of fixate on where he's going and don't realize he's made a mistake, and then you make the same mistake. It's quite common. It does happen a lot, especially in the amateur ranks, where you're learning how to actually perform at high speed. And now the guy is going to try and get past me. He's going to start flashing me like, no, let me by, and I'm like, get by me if you can. I'm racing my line, buddy. I do know that I was faster through here than him. And this is the final lap, and I do remember this. This was absolutely brilliant to have this happen. So this guy is going to overcook himself. He's not paying attention to his braking point. He just wants to get by me. He thinks he can do it on the straight, and he overcooks it, and he ends up off the track, and I'm given free rein for 6th place. He completely spins it. He loses a 1 position, 2 position, and he'll probably lose another 2 positions, 3, 4 positions from 1 mistake, and that's it. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Catch you later.